This is a very, very serious development, obviously, of American bombs falling over Nigerian territory. The choice of targets was also curious because if you say the attack was directed at ISIS, one would have thought that the part where the bombs dropped, southeastern Sokoto State, is the relatively safe part of Sokoto State, and that in Sokoto State too, it is the northeastern part adjoining Zamfara State where the bandits and terrorists are most active, right into Zamfara State and the western part of Kebbi State. And also, it is in the northeast specifically that we have the ISWAP, which is openly paying allegiance to ISIS.
What I can confirm is a joint operation between Nigeria and the US that has targeted terrorists. It has nothing to do with a particular religion. It is, as far as we're concerned, targeting terrorists that have been attacking Nigerians, period. So it has nothing to do with one religion or another. And nor does it have anything to do with Christmas. It could be any other day. It is to do with attacking terrorists that have been killing Nigerians.
Let's just be honest and straightforward. Nigerian government did not get any approval, or rather, American government does not get any approval for it to take any action in Nigeria. In fact, as a matter of fact, what the Nigerian government has done is to do a saving pace. America did not need their permission to come and do what they intended to do.
No, Awal. There was a statement released by the Nigerian Foreign Affairs Ministry that said they provided the intelligence. So now that you are claiming that Nigeria did not provide the intelligence to America for the strike, do you have your empirical facts, Awal? That's just all I ask you. Show us the facts that Nigerian government did not provide intelligence and they're just saving face. It's facts I want. Not sentiments. Show us the facts.
What I'm saying is that, listen. What I'm saying is that America does not need Nigerian approval to carry out their action. That's what I said. And I'm saying that, it's all, clear that, the way and manner in which Trump had even made, his pronouncement to carry out this action.
December 25th, Christmas Day, while families across Nigeria gathered around food, prayers and celebration, something else was happening far away from the carols and church bells. High above the skies of northwest Nigeria, missiles were already in the air, and by the time most Nigerians woke up the next morning, the headlines had already gone global. United States launches airstrikes in Nigeria. For the first time in modern history, America had carried out a confirmed military strike on Nigerian soil. No warning to the public, no prior notice, just a sudden statement from Washington. The target, Islamic State fighters operating in Nigeria. The justification, terrorism, protection of lives. And according to US President Donald Trump, the defense of persecuted Christians. But almost immediately, questions followed. How did American fighter jets strike Nigeria without violating sovereignty? Did Nigeria approve the attack? Or was it forced into silence? Why? And what does this mean for Nigerian security, politics and future? Because behind the official statement lies a deeper story, one involving global power, intelligence cooperation, religious sensitivity, and Nigerians' long-running failure to defeat terrorism on its own. In this video, we break all of these down. This is not just the story of an airstrike. It is the story of how Nigeria became a battlefield for foreign firepower on Christmas Day. In the early hours of December 25, 2025, US military forces carried out precision airstrikes in northwest Nigeria, specifically targeting militant camps believed to be operated by the Islamic States in West African province known as ISWAP. The airstrike reportedly hit remote locations in Sokoto State, areas long plagued by banditry, extremist activity, and weak state control. According to U.S. African Command, the operation was based on credible intelligence gathered over weeks of surveillance. American officials described the target as terrorist hideouts, training camps, and operational command points. The weapons used were not disclosed in details, but defense analysts believe the strikes involved long-range precision missiles, possibly launched from U.S. naval assets or airstrikes operating outside Nigeria airspace. Within hours, U.S. President Donald Trump confirmed the operation himself. In a strongly worded statement, Trump described the militants as evil and confirmed that they were responsible for the killing of innocent civilians, particularly Christians. He called the strike decisive, necessary, and successful. No casualty figures were immediately released, but American officials insist that multiple terrorists were eliminated and that the operation achieved its objectives without civilian casualties. Back in Nigeria, silence followed. For several hours, there was no official response from Abuja, no military briefing, no presidential statement, no press conference. That silence only fueled speculation. Was Nigeria caught off guard? Was the government embarrassed? Or was this silence part of a carefully coordinated plan? By the end of the day, Nigerian government finally spoke. Government official confirmed that the airstrike was not a surprise, insisting it was the result of joint intelligence sharing and security cooperation between Nigeria and the United States. They emphasized that Nigeria did not lose control of its sovereignty and that the operation was carried out in Nigeria's interests. But for many Nigerians, that explanation raised even more questions. Because if Nigeria approved the strike, why wasn't the public informed? And if Nigeria didn't approve it, what does that say about the country's control of its own territory? One thing was now clear. This was not just a military operation, it was a geopolitical statement. To understand why America struck Nigeria, you must first understand Washington's growing frustration. For over a decade, Nigeria has battled multiple armed groups: Boko Haram in the northeast, ISWAP around the Lake Chad, armed bandits across the northwest, kidnapping syndicates operating almost openly. Despite billions spent on defense, terrorism has refused to disappear. From Washington's perspective, Nigeria is a key security partner, but also a weak link. In recent months, U.S. officials had grown increasingly vocal about religious violence in Nigeria, especially attacks on Christian communities in parts of the north. President Donald Trump, in particular, framed the situation as a moral issue. In his words, Christians were being slaughtered while the world looked away. This framing was controversial because Nigerian security experts have long argued that terrorism in Nigeria is not a religious war, but a complex mix of extremism, poverty, weak governance, and criminal banditry. Still, the U.S. position was clear. If Nigeria could not neutralize these groups fast enough, America would act to protect its interests and values. And that is exactly what happened on Christmas Day. The strike served multiple purposes. First, it was a counter-terrorism operation. Second, it was a political message to militants, to Nigeria, and to the world. Third, it was a domestic signal by President Donald Trump to his supporters, reinforcing his tough stance on terrorism and religious persecution. But critics argue that the strike was less about Christianity and more about power projection. America wanted to remind everyone that it still decides when and where their force is used, even inside the borders of a sovereign African nation. For Nigeria, this reality is uncomfortable because no matter how the government frames it, the truth remains. A foreign military carried out a deadly operation inside Nigeria, and Nigeria could not stop it. This is the most sensitive question of all. Did Nigeria approve the U.S. airstrike? Officially, the answer is yes. According to government sources, Nigeria and the United States have long maintained security cooperation agreements, including intelligence sharing and joint counter-terrorism planning. Officials insist that Nigeria provided intelligence support and approved the strike at the highest level. They argue that sovereignty was not violated because Nigeria consented to it. But critics are not convinced. If Nigeria truly approved the airstrike, why was there no Nigerian Air Force involvement? Why did Nigerian jets not carry out the attack themselves? Why was the announcement made by the US President and not Nigerian's Commander-in-Chief? These questions expose a painful reality. Nigeria may be sovereign in theory, but in practice, it still depends heavily on foreign intelligence, technology, and firepower. Some analysts believe Nigeria was placed in a difficult position, refused the strike and risks US diplomatic pressure, approve it and face domestic backlash. So, Abuja chose quiet cooperation. Opposition voices, activists, and civil society groups reacted strongly. Some called the strike a dangerous precedent, others warned that it could inflame religious tensions. A few described it as neo-colonial military intervention, but government defenders insist the priority is security, not pride. Their argument is simple. If terrorists are eliminated, the method does not matter. Yet, history suggests otherwise, because foreign military action often leave long-term consequences that last far beyond the bombs. The Christmas Day airstrike changes everything. First, it signals that Nigeria's security crisis has gone international. What was once an internal problem is now a global counter-terrorism theater. Second, it raises serious question about Nigerians' military capacity. If America can strike terror camps in Sokoto, why can't Nigeria? Why do these groups still exist after years of operations? Third, it risks reshaping how Nigerians see their own government. Many citizens are now asking, if foreign powers must protect us, what exactly is our government doing? And fourth, there is a danger of escalation. Militant groups may retaliate. They may spread deeper into civilian populations. They may use the strike as propaganda to recruit fighters. And finally, there is the political costs. Nigeria's leaders must now explain to the world and to their own people why foreign missiles were necessary on Nigerian soil. Because once a country allows one foreign strike, the door is never fully closed again. The US airstrike in Nigeria was not the end of a story. It was the beginning of a new phase, a phase where Nigerian security failure attracts global intervention. Terrorism becomes a justification for foreign force. Sovereignty becomes negotiable. The US government has hinted that more actions could follow if threats persist. Nigeria insists it remains in control, but control is not declared, it is demonstrated. And until Nigerians feel safe in their homes, villages and highways, questions will remain. Was this strike necessary? Was it effective? Or was it a warning of deeper troubles ahead? One thing is certain. On Christmas Day, Nigeria crossed a historic line, a line where the fight against terror is no longer fought alone and where the consequences may last for generations. This was not just an airstrike, it was a message to terrorists, to Nigeria, to Africa, and to the world. The question now is not whether America can strike Nigeria again. The real question is, will Nigeria ever reach a point where it no longer needs anyone else to do it for her? That's the big question. Drop your thoughts in the comment and do let us know what you think about the airstrike that happened on Christmas Day in Nigeria. Are you in support of it or you are against it?